Welcome to Seeking the Light of 1,000 Suns podcast, brought to you by Maya Skyryka and Gia. We are eclectic practitioners, and our podcasts are designed for listeners in any stage of their chosen magical path. Please join our Facebook or go to our webpage for podcast extras.
Welcome, friends, to Seeking the Light of 1,000 Suns. We are here today with Air. He is our special guest. He's also my husband.
Hello.
We are going to talk about to keep silent. This is the last step of the witch's pyramid, depending on which pyramid you follow. We can also add to go in at the end for those that use the to go part of the pyramid. So the idea behind keeping silent in the magical world is so unfavorable comments or influences cannot be made that would negate your magic. We're going to start with the mundane world and all of the things that to keep silent applies on the regular daily life.
And just a little background for me. I am Maya's husband. I'll just go by Air on here. We've been married for almost 24 years. I am not any kind of witchcraft, Wiccan, pagan, any religion whatsoever. But I do have the knowledge of knowing Maya for a long, long time. And we've gotten very good at knowing when to keep silent to each other. Various situations in our life, whether it be relationship-wise, profession-wise, friends or social-wise, family-wise. There's all sorts of times that we've had to restrain ourselves, you could say, to be silent. I guess take it away. I mean, where do you want to start?
Well, I like that you brought up, about the different scenarios of keeping silent. I like that because a lot of times people think of it as holding your tongue, holding back, and it doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to feel like that. One of the things about keeping silent is not only regulating your emotions, but allowing what's happening around you to be absorbed and to be able to listen and to be aware and to pay attention and to allow things to come to a conclusion or an end before you speak, if you choose to speak at all. I'm not talking about the silent treatment.
I know that one. If you've been married long enough, you know what the silent treatment is.
I think everybody knows what the silent treatment is. So, in the mundane world, silence is the best answer to someone who doesn't value your words. So, that would be in situations where it's an argument and you're not seeing eye to eye.
But, what can I say about that? We've been happily married a long time, but that doesn't mean that, there isn't bumps in the road, disagreements. When you're married to somebody, you're in it for the long haul, the good times and the bad. It's not always 24/7 honeymoon. It takes work, it takes compromise, and sometimes like you said, you just have to bite your tongue.
I think that with us, though, we do a very, very good job of valuing each other's words.
Oh, definitely.
I'm thinking about sometimes where, like, Facebook friends, coworkers, and stuff like that start getting into their little political rampages and stuff like that.
Well, that's a tough one.
And
It is a tough one. I'm guilty myself, having plenty of times, gone on social media rants, politics. I'm not the only one who can get fired up by that. That's obvious. And plenty of times I've had to just stop, like just not respond. Nothing. It isn't going anywhere. It isn't doing any good. You can type, yell, scream, whatever until you're blue in the face. It isn't going to change somebody's mind. It doesn't matter what you do, what facts you have, evidence, anything. If somebody doesn't want to hear it, they're not going to hear it.
wouldn't you say, too, that when they stop valuing your words, it's just going back and forth and repeat? I mean, at some point,
Oh, yeah.
being
Sure.
quiet kind of ends the struggle to some degree with most people, anyway.
Yep. It's the text version of walking away, you could say.
But allowing them to finish whatever
Sure.
it is they're going on about. I didn't mean that to sound negative, but
Right.
sometimes when you're keeping silent, it is a negative situation.
Right.
So, as witches, we believe that words have power. And keeping silent is about the power of listening and saying nothing when the time calls for it. We have to be really, really careful and use our words responsibly. I've noticed that as time goes on and on and on and on, when you're practicing witchcraft, the more that you work on yourself and your magic and your craft, the more power your words have. And so things become really real really quickly. One of the things that I try really hard not to say are things like, oh, Karma will come get them for that, or
things have a way of working themselves out in the end a lot of times.
right. I try not to say negative things out loud that are hurtful or harmful, because I know that energetically, after it leaves your mouth, it still goes on out to the universe.
No, like if you're talking, because again, I'm not into the magic stuff so much, and spells or the Wicca stuff. I've been around it a lot, being around Maya here. But things I can relate to, like I'm also a mediocre musician. I was never great. Played drums a little bit. Been in some bands and stuff, and like one powerful effect to music is like, let's say somebody's just absolutely shredding this, great solo, and the band is amped up, everybody's into it, and then all of a sudden you cut it off and you just kind of bring it way down, almost to a silence, or even just a little low level, like kind of noodling. And a lot of times that really has an impact on people, because it kind of lets you absorb that energy that was just hitting you with the music. You know what I'm talking about?
That's
like,
a great example.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
you just, some guy was just up on stage, just absolutely shredding on this guitar, and you're going, oh wow, he's great and everything, and all of a sudden they drop it off and boom, and they take it down to just a little, little background noise or something, and you kind of go, ooh, that hit me, that was good, Mostly the music I played was like blues music and stuff like that, so you got very good at kind of ramping things up and down, and using just a moment of silence in the song somewhere, or just a pause, like a slight pause, like in the middle of a song, sometimes just gives a little bit of like extra impact that maybe you weren't even expecting, and it hits you because it gives you a second to absorb what you just heard, and then you kind of wonder like what's coming next, and it's got a very good effect there. And some people might say like all the energy comes from just like if you're into like metal music, just everybody just jamming real fast, everything like that. Yeah, that's great energy, but if you can find a pause in there, or something to silence up for a second, all of a sudden you have people hanging on you. It's a good, powerful effect. And I kind of picture that with you magic wise. If you're putting, because again, I'm not, but if you're putting your, you know, heart and your soul and your feelings into it and stuff, and then you kind of just let that, what would you say, sink in, kind of absorb, it's going to grab attention maybe within yourself or whoever you're with doing this with, or, again, because I don't really know the magic part, but am I kind of right on that? Or?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Sometimes that silence even just brings some mental stimulation pertaining to the music or the feelings that were involved in it, or whatever the case may be too. So I mean, like when it comes to magic, I compare magic to music quite often. I do a lot of magic to music.
Well, that's cool.
Because I feel the power of the sound.
And I kind of know your musical taste, but like, what are some of your favorites? Like, just out of curiosity, like, what would you say? Like, kind of energy wise and silent wise, like.
My music, energy wise, is usually metal, and there's not usually big pauses or big silences. But I would say after the song is over, if I'm not ready for that energy crash, you've seen me do this before, I'll hit replay.
Oh yeah.
And start it over again because sure. I'm not ready to hit that down, that energy stop. There's some other things about keeping silent that music reminds me of too, as far as sound goes, and that would be like meditation, mindfulness. A lot of times in that silence, people are getting their balance. They're getting their energetic balance, their mental balance, their emotional balance. A lot of times that would come with visualizations, or like some people will use visualizations in their magic as well. But all of that happens within a silence. And if it's not silent on the external, there's a silence within the mind, to allow that focus.
I kind of think too, like how you're describing this and stuff too, is I'm thinking of like being at a meeting at work, let's say. Nobody likes meetings. I mean, at least as far as I know. But usually, like a meeting goes, you have one person talking, and you might take breaks in the meeting for questions. You're gonna try to keep people one at a time talking, and part of this is just because if everybody was talking at the same time, nobody would hear anything. It would just be noise, more or less. It'd be just a bunch of people in a room talking. Nobody would really be able to absorb anything that's being said by anybody. And as boring as meetings are, I guess that's like something I can think of where, like, the reason why silence works sometimes is just being able to have organization, being able to focus on things that are said or done. I'm guilty of this too. I drive a truck for a living. I'm sure people have done this in their cars. You have music cranked in your car, could be music, talk radio, whatever, and you go to back up. What do? You turn the radio down. It doesn't affect what you're doing backing up, but for some reason we have to turn that radio down so it's quiet, so you can focus on what you're doing backing up. And I would imagine it's, similar to that, like with the magic stuff too. Like if you're distracted, you're probably not going to be as effective magically.
Right. And I was actually thinking about what you were saying about meetings and absorbing and how people have to take turns. And I mean, I'm just thinking about those meetings where people don't. Right. And people are heated and talking over each other, and it turns out to be
It's just chaos.
It's an energetic clusterfuck. It's completely chaotic, and then it's stressful.
And then there's always somebody who doesn't get to say what they want to say, and
Well, and then everybody's mood is shot. So on a magical level, I know there's all kinds of different things on the mundane level where to be silent is very helpful. On a magical level, it is to make sure that there aren't other people's influences in your work. I can't tell you how many times I see on social media people posting pictures of their spells work. Like, here, look at my money jar. Isn't it pretty? Here, look at my spell. Look at this. Look at the cord cutting candles that I did. And I immediately hold my breath and try to hold a mindfulness space in my head, because I don't want to interfere or interact with their magic. But at the same time, they're doing that by posting that on social media. Because somebody else might be thinking, oh, you should have used this color for that. Or, oh, why didn't you use basil for this? Or they might say, something negative, or not say anything negative, but the thought goes out into the universe that counterbalances that working. I also know there's a lot of people out there that don't believe that other people can influence your working, because if you use to will and put it out there, that it's supposed to be a straight shot. But for those solitary practitioners out there that have not had a chance to work in group mind, or a coven, or a training circle, or do magic in numbers, it's very, very, very powerful the more minds that you have toward a goal. And so on social media, what happens a lot of the times is you end up getting a group mindset. So my advice would be to not talk about your magic, whether it's ego or not, until it's been completed. That can go for all kinds of other non-magical things too. Once your words have a lot of power. How many times have you and I said to each other, take that back.
Hey, don't put that
Don't put that out there.
Don't put that out there. Oh my God, I'm totally going to screw this up. Don't put that out there.
Yep. Yep. And I almost caught myself doing that the last episode when Gia was talking about a different way of doing affirmations. I almost immediately started canceling her power in my mind, going, no, that's not how the universe works. That's not how. And then I had to keep stopping myself and saying cancel and clear that energy so that I wasn't interfering with her work. But it was because I automatically had my own opinion and my own belief and my own really strong thoughts and feelings on it. So that's something that, witches really need to be careful about.
I could think of a time where we were at a family function. Somebody was very upset. basically it was kind of starting to get ugly. People were saying stuff. I even came under fire a little bit, which I was a little upset about. And there was so many things I could have said. I totally probably could have gone off, bam, dropped the mic, whatever. But I just had to tell myself, no, just let it go, let it go. Breathe, step out of the room. Because realistically, in my head, you might go, oh, excuse me, bam, take that, and but realistically, in the outcome, it's just going to continue this argument. It's going to make things negative, and you're probably just going to be, looked at even worse to some degree, or more negative. Give people time to cool off. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, like the situation, because we were both there, but we're not going to get into specifics or names or anything like that. But I know Maya, she was looking at me going, don't do it. Pretty much, I could see her pretty much saying, "Don't do it, don't do it." She's just looking at me with her eyes, like because she knew I could, but it was that look, like kind of like, "Don't do it, don't go there, don't go there, don't go," and I'm like biting my tongue, like, oh man. And I did have to step out, but in the end, we're all cool now. Things were said, the air was cleared. A couple weeks later, we're all back together again, happy, celebrating stuff, and it's cool.
Well, that goes back to again the words with power, like when there's things that are heated like that and you just want to drop the mic or you want to throw punches, all you're doing is continuing to hurt each other, and it just keeps escalating, and hurtful things and negative energies are bouncing all over the place. And at some point in time, you have to stop, ground, breathe, and disengage or remain silent. Because although, you can say hurtful things and people can forgive you for them, people don't ever forget. And that is something that you're stamping another person with in their aura, in their spirit, in their body. And
I don't know if you could hear that or not, but our kitty cat doesn't know when to be silent. Kitty cat or two dogs. So if you hear them in the background, they don't know any better. They're just gonna speak and make noises as they want to. But
so I started taking a little bit of a turn in my mind here while we were talking about being silent and the negativity. And it started making me think about how people self-sabotage.
yeah, that's
sometimes silencing yourself.
Mm.
Like, if you're on one of those, self-perpetuating negative thought patterns, to be able to stop and silence yourself so that you're not self-abusing. That can be part of your self-care.
Like, what do you think in there? Like, kind of like what's on your mind there? Like,
all kinds of things that people think to themselves, like, I'm not good enough.
Oh yeah, okay, I'm feeling you.
Yeah, I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not blah blah blah. Whatever your self-defeating patterns are, that would be a good time to cut in silence.
That's actually a very tough one for me. I grew up young kid. I was the poor kid in a very well-to-do, wealthy neighborhood. I wore the garage sale clothes. I had the bowl haircut, and all the kids around me were wearing the expensive Nike shoes, the popular clothes, and it all made me like an easy bully target. And that was tough because, believe it or not, that does affect you. And still to this day, it's like social situations, uh, it can come back to haunt you. I mean, you're thinking like, oh God, everybody's gonna think I'm stupid. Everybody thinks everybody's gonna think I'm weird. Uh, especially like if you're out with a group of people or something, and there's always gonna be usually somebody who kind of like takes the show in social gatherings. I've always kind of known that they're always gonna usually be the loud one. They're gonna do the most talking. They might not let a lot of other people talk. Like you might get half a sentence in, and they'll walk on you or whatever. And as somebody who was like picked on in school, the knee jerk reaction to me is just to just kind of like pull back, like and kind of become a hermit in the corner, you know. And then you start asking yourself like, oh, what am I doing here anyway? Like if I'm just gonna be a flower on the wall, like why do I even come to these things? And it's something I've worked with on myself a long time. Even to this day, I would say I still struggle with that. Uh, just saying, you know what, these people don't know my past. You know, uh, you're not stupid or weird, or well, maybe I'm weird. Everybody's a little weird sometimes, I guess. But just to say, hey, engage a little bit. Uh, you know, boost yourself up. Don't listen to the voices. Silence those voices that say, "Hey, I'm weird and I'm stupid and people don't like me," and you have to quiet that a bit inside, push through it, and over time it becomes easier because you start to get a feel for it, where like just walking in a room full of people, hey, how's it going? What's up? Hey, my name's Air. How are you? And oh, hey, what's your name? And and if you engage a little bit and silence those negative thoughts going on in your head, you might see like that. It was all in your head, and people are just gonna talk to you like anybody else.
That is, again, another perfect example of words having power. Because to this day, you still suffer from those words that were slung at you
Most definitely.
when you were a child. And that's what I meant when I said people can forgive what's said, but it'll never be forgotten. It's like implanted, it's imprinted. You really have to be sure that your words as a witch, a magical practitioner, um, that you are choosing your words very carefully, because that is a responsibility of the power that you have.
A lot of things I've heard with related to the witchcraft and the magic and stuff is that things come back to you in three. Is that something that you feel you follow yourself? Like,
I do. Not everybody does. That's more of a Wicca thing. But yes, I do believe that what I put out there does return threefold. And that's another reason why I'm very careful with how I choose my energies and my words and my actions.
so if you're really helpful to somebody, I guess you would hope that it comes back to you times three. But if you're being negative or whatever, that's it's going to come back to haunt you times three, I guess. I know, like, I've been around you many years. Uh, I've been around some of your witchy stuff. Uh, Believe it or not, we have a ton of candles in this place. uh, but again, I'm not an expert. I don't know this stuff like Maya here does. Uh, which is why I'm gonna ask some questions once in a while. Uh, you know, I know it's not like the Hollywood thing you see, like The Craft and stuff. Like you know we joke around that sometimes, she can get the flowing hair and stuff, like the glowing eyes and everything like that. Hollywood makes all the witches stuff out to be. But how do you feel like with yourself? Because I know like everybody's a little different. Like, like what's something like you would want me to know as somebody who's not practicing, like
Well,
like I know you're not a fan of Ouija boards.
no. One of the things that I would want you to know would be how much or how important privacy is for witches. They may still be in the broom closet with coworkers, family, friends, neighbors,
Oh yeah.
or their community. So not outing out other people. And you've been really, really good at that. You've met a lot of witches. I mean, you've met many witches, and you don't walk around talking about any of that. But another thing that I would want people to know is...
Yeah, I'll walk up to people and go, "Hey, here's my wife. She's a witch."
Another thing I would want people to know is not everything that you see on TikTok, Facebook, social media, in videos and pictures and stuff, it's not the same for everyone. I would like to say that there are some people that are just like everyone else, that are very simplistic, that don't have any specific rules or rituals to follow or do any specific type of Sabbats or holidays or any of that. And then there are others that, they really put into a lot. They put a lot into their work. And then there's also some, I feel, and I know that I can't say this for certain, but I can say this is how I feel. I see a lot of things where people are they have some knowledge and are really seriously trying to throw around ego and do a lot of things for show. And I would say that if you're living a witch lifestyle, that is not typical behavior. I'm not saying that they're not powerful. I'm not saying that they are not genuine in their work. I'm not saying that, I'm not saying anything other than if it's too showy, that might be all it is for show, is all I'm trying to say.
Have you ever come across somebody who is like, "Yeah, I'm a witch" or whatever, but they want it to be like the Hollywood thing? They're not. You know what I'm saying? Like, kind of. I don't know. I hate to use the word like poser or wannabe almost or something where you go whatever. Like that's not how it is. Or
I used to see that a lot in young teens. But I do honestly believe that there's a small part of me that there was a genuine interest and that they really did want to learn and know more. But again, like that's where the ego and the showing off and the attention seeking start to seek in.
But I suppose there's some degree where you have to be kind of silent there too, and just kind of be like, whatever, like maybe in your head or.
Well, and there are some people that just naturally have a lot more drama and a lot more flair, and that's just who they are. Like, and you have to appreciate that too, because some of that is really truly an art.
And I apologize, people. I'm not used to doing podcast stuff. But if she's talking to me, I'm nodding and stuff. And then I think about it, and I'm like, well, you can't see that. You can't see me sitting here nodding and agreeing and being like, that's kind of cool.
I guess what really bothers me a lot is I see a ton of tarot reading imposers.
Okay.
a ton of psychic and tarot reading posers, and that really bothers me. That's really hard to keep silent about, because you see people spending money, a lot of money. I would say more so on the psychic than the tarot part of it. I see feeds all the time. I'm on a lot of Facebook witch groups. And what generally happens, from what it sounds like for a lot of people that are getting taken advantage of by the posers, is they pay and have a reading, and then, or, have a psychic session, and then they tell them that I can help you with this, and then you pay for another session, and then they say, this is what you need to do now, and they pay for another session. And then when the person starts feeling like they don't want to pay for any more sessions, or they're not progressing the way they like, or that something seems a little off, then they start saying that they're going to curse them. And they're going to make sure that they have, money or health issues or whatever if they're not going to continue services. And when I see this, it makes me absolutely ill. And you got to sometimes, when you're talking about to keep silent, sometimes that means not getting involved.
Right. I could see that, like, oh, that just sounds awful to me. Like, almost like the televangelists or something that are like, send me money and I'll heal you. Like, like, and if you don't, that just doesn't sound right to me.
No, but they wait until they're hooked and that they've got thousands or hundreds or thousands of dollars in.
And I suppose if you're not giving proper information, like, I almost picture like the power of suggestion, maybe even doing bad. Like, if you're telling somebody the wrong thing because you don't know, or you're making it up, or you're scamming somebody, you're still probably putting some sort of power of suggestion into somebody.
Yep.
And I do know that can be very powerful, right or wrong.
Absolutely. And then you put the fear, that terrible fear, into people when they think, if I stop paying this person or stop using this person, they're going to curse me.
And who wants to be cursed, right?
Right. Nobody does. I mean, that. And that sounds terrifying. And is it really happening? Are they really getting cursed? I don't know. I have no idea. But what I do know is, in this situation, when I see this, I do not have enough proof and enough stance in the situation to help the person or to turn in the wrongdoer. And in that case, I have to remain silent.
Yeah, I can see that.
I'm not helping anyone if I'm wrong.
Right.
I'm not wrong. No, I'm never wrong.
I'm nodding again.
I know.
I'm sorry. I'm like,
I'm not wrong. I'm never wrong. No,
right. If you're married out there, your wife is never wrong.
Yeah.
And then be silent.
So another thing about keeping silent, and the silence within, is a lot of people before magic workings, if they don't, they should take a silent time for some breaths and to center themselves and ground themselves before beginning magical work. You have to make your energy systems and your mindset
Okay.
Balanced. That's what I was looking for. I was looking for the word.
Okay.
Because there are people out there that do chaos magic, and I'm not speaking against those people. I'm saying that if you're not a chaos magic worker, it really is best to, before you start, use a few moments of silence and to take some deep breaths, ground and center yourself before you do your magical work, so that you are coming from a place of balance. And another thing about keeping silent is if you're working with other magical practitioners, any type of oaths, initiations, sacred knowledge, or secrets, those are all things that you're being gifted to be a part of. And that's also expected for remaining silent.
Okay. I think back to we were doing what would you call it, around Halloween time or dinners.
Oh, Samhain. Yes.
Okay, yeah, forgive me. I don't know all this stuff. I'm innocent bystander here. And we always made like nice food. Usually, if we could, like food that like lost ones, particularly liked, or a drink, or uh, and usually in a pretty big group of our friends and stuff. And at some point in the dinner, I know you'd always ask, okay, this is where, like, while we eat, we're being silent. And what would you explain? Like what was like the magical like reason for that? Like,
Well, that was the Dinner of the Dead, right?
yeah.
Did you have any experiences when we were silent?
That's hard to say. Sometimes some weird feelings, like did something just kind of rub my leg? I wonder if that was a cat that we used to have. Um, little things like that. Like maybe like a little, like almost a little air on the back of the neck. Like where it kind of tingles your hair. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and you kind of wonder to yourself, like, is that somebody trying to get my attention, or
Mm-hmm.
what do you think?
Well, the reasoning for the silence at the Dinner of the Dead, we talk about our ancestors and the people, the loved ones that we have lost, and we light a candle for them. And the silence is to allow us to be able to absorb if there's any messages, any feelings. Some people will kind of have nostalgia where they think about memories and stuff like that of these people in their minds. Um, Sometimes people will have audio or visual experiences, and the keeping silent is to allow that to happen. If everybody continued talking, nobody would catch those little
The
feelings.
little touches on the back of the neck, and
Or like
and,
right,
and the
right.
cat possibly rubbing against her leg, and
right.
well, that's kind of cool. I think that's yeah, I like that. I like that.
So, I guess one of the things that I would really like to touch back on would be the keeping silent in magical workings where you're trying to manifest something. You don't want other people's words of power, their thoughts, their energies to derail your effort. I highly suggest that people don't tell other people about their magic and their spell work until it is actually completed so that there aren't any roadblocks to your success.
No, I know, like meditation. Is that like, like a lot of people? I don't know whether you do yoga or I don't know what all the meditations are out there now. Uh, or maybe even like gardening or something. Is that kind of a good example where you could say like keeping silent, or because maybe you're peaceful to yourself, just you know pulling weeds, or planting flowers, or
Oh,
you know
yeah.
kind of like self meditation. Does that silence have any value to like self meditating and stuff? And
Absolutely. For example, like when you bring up gardening, some witches will harvest their own herbs. And part of that process would be connecting and communicating with the essence of the plant.
Okay.
And you would do that through silence. And, some witches will do magic completely through meditation. Whether it be they're in a household that's not accepting or they don't have the tools that a lot of people collect for their altars and stuff like that, you can actually create a temple, an altar, and everything in your mind through either visualization or meditation and do your whole spell working in your mind.
I got a cool example of something I just thought of. We had toured Prince's studio after he died. If you ever get a chance to do that, that is an outstanding, really cool building. It's a good tour. Whether you're a Prince fan or not, I don't know if they still do it.
I think they do.
I think they do, and I think they do change some stuff up once in a while, but that is a really cool tour. And one of my favorite things on that tour is when you actually walk into his studio, like the recording studio part, where it's the soundproof, sound tight room and everything. And even the air in there changes to some degree. Even like the sound of your own breathing is different in there. And they say that like if 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 you're the only one in there and you're being completely silent, like you can hear your own heart. Like
Oh, wow.
So like if you just stood in there, you could actually kind of hear your own heartbeat. And I kind of believe it because we're in a group of like 30, 40 people. People are trying to be quiet, but you always get a little, feet shuffling, somebody coughing, somebody mumbling to their buddy. And even though it was pretty quiet, even like the room just felt different. It was, you know what I'm talking about? Because we were there, like
I definitely felt a lot of spirit in that room. Definitely. It was very different.
just the acoustics of it and everything. Like you could just imagine, like if you were firing up a bunch of instruments, how cool and everything that would sound in there. But the silence part of it is what was kind of gripping to me because, like I said, even your own breathing to yourself sounded different in that room. And it's amazing, like what you can do with like the acoustics of that and everything. But man, can you imagine like if you had a chance to just walk in there alone and sit in the middle of the floor, and by yourself and just chill for a minute, like
That would actually terrify some people. Was that Mammoth Caves that we went to that one time where they turned the lights out and told everybody to remain completely silent?
yeah,
I think,
yeah.
was it Mammoth Caves?
Well, the thing about Mammoth Caves, that was like total darkness, or like you couldn't. They shut the lights off, and you couldn't see your.
I know.
Your face.
I know, but when they told everybody to be silent, you could feel the energy of everybody change to fear because some people aren't comfortable.
Oh yeah, that's actually true. Now
They're not. Yes.
You bring that up, yeah, I kind of remember
some
that.
people felt you could feel
uneasy, like
their terror.
Yeah, you could like feel their uneasiness. Kind of like this is kind of creepy. Like we're way underground, and like if this was pitch black in here and you couldn't hear anything like that, oh, that would be creepy. Like
Yeah.
ooh.
Some people are absolutely terrified. There are people that can't be silent. They're afraid of silence. And a lot of times that's those people that you meet up with that can't stop talking.
Like your husband sometimes?
No. No, but we know a few of those people.
All right.
I used to think that it was an attention thing and that it was somebody that felt the need to be center of attention or to have, be
Go ahead, finish. You made me think of something else.
It had to be the light of the room, but as I got to know these people more, I started to realize that it wasn't so much about attention getting because their behaviors weren't completely chaotic, but it was more about once things got quiet. They couldn't handle the quietness or the silence of the room.
Yep. Oh, yeah. I have a certain relative that Maya knows. And we all kind of joke that you don't get to talk to her. It's like if you're talking to her on the phone or anything like that, she's talking to you. You're just listening to her, and you can literally try to jump in talking, but you'll and you'll wait for her to be done, and then you'll say like, yeah, and I'm and then she'll be like, oh yeah, and cut you off and go off for another 2 minutes. And there's been times where like I've just kind of like paused my phone and walked around for a while, like, yep, heard this all before. Okay, unpause. Okay, now I'll try to talk again. So how are you? And nope, never mind. And she'll talk. And like I said, the running joke is that when you have a conversation with her, it's basically you're being talked to. Like you're just, I'm gonna call so and so I can be talked to. And then part of the reason why it's important to be silent once in a while and actually listen is because you can say something and then 5 minutes later in the conversation she can ask you something and it'll be exactly what you tried to answer a few minutes ago, and then 5 minutes later in the conversation she can ask you again, and you end up repeating yourself 3 or 4 times just to get the same thing off because she doesn't listen and is too busy talking. And kind of like if you're talking you aren't listening.
Absolutely. So she would definitely benefit from finding
moments of silence.
Right. Finding moments of silence.
And I love her to death, don't get me wrong.
Of course. Just lastly, one of the things that I really kind of want to put out there is that being silent, it stops giving our power to others. Being silent in magic stops giving our power to other people. Your spell and your magic power should be private and your own to maintain the strength of power that you put into it.
And there's nothing more powerful than in your own head, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're not saying it out loud, I mean, nobody else is going to know unless they can read minds,
Oh, I just said I would touch a little bit on to go because there are witches pyramids that have to go on the very, very top of the pyramid at the tip. And basically, to sum it up, to go is putting your soul into your working, and not just by talking the talk, but walking the walk. Basically, to go is, if you're looking at like a pentagram, it would be spirit. It would be putting your spirit into the craft as a lifestyle. And then that being a part of the foundation of magic.
Okay. That's going a little beyond me not knowing this, but I'm sure anybody who's probably listening to this probably knows that or can relate.
Well, I generally didn't even ever use or know to go. I always did the to know, to dare, to will, to keep silent. And it was when I was doing research on, putting together some of these podcasts that I saw to go, and I was like, what? So I just wanted to put out there that there are people that do follow the pyramid with to go as well. Well, don't forget to like and follow our podcast. You can also find podcast extras and magical shop discounts on our webpage at www.seekingthelightofA1,000suns.com. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Oh, no problem. And word to Gia and Lily. I've been listening. You guys have been great. Thank you very much.
And thank you for being here, Eric.
Hey, no problem. You guys have a great day. keeping silent, we're not. And this is husband signing off. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Blessed be.